I talked about taking my job serious. It was really tough in there. You have to,
Right.
But you're a kid in a candy store.
Right.
And so, you're looking around and surrounded by iconic archives that, frankly, I never thought most people don't see.
Yeah, because I'm sure that collection is worth millions and millions and millions of dollars.
And it's expansive too. And so they would go. There's
That's the kind of thing that you literally I probably will never ever see.
I don't even know if I can mention it. But we captured moments that they were just skateboarding in the studio,
right.
And they built this jump. So they put together a bunch of tables, and then they put stacked the helmets up,
right.
And then they skated and ollied over.
That's sick.
The helmets, and that photo that we captured, we sent to Heavyweight Crew and got portraited, and that was the ad.
It's so interesting seeing this sort of hustle culture that we have on the internet, but people don't follow through with that. They say it, but they never follow through with it. It's crazy to me.
I mean, some do, right?
Some do, but
the
vast majority.
Right? No, seriously.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the Shoes Off podcast. Today, we've got a really exciting guest, Nik Greenblatt.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, we've got Nik with one K or no C? N-I-K.
1K.
There we go, 1K.
1K. N-I-K.
Well, Nik is an awesome guy because he started one of the premier Philadelphia multidisciplinary creative agencies, probably the premier agency. And you've literally been in it. You started out as a snowboarder, then you started this agency. So you've been in not only sneaker culture, but extreme sports. You've been in creative, which is something that I'm sure a lot of you guys watching are interested in. So I'm just really excited to talk to you today.
Let's do it, man.
Find out
Me
how
too.
it all came together. Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked. So why don't we start from the very beginning? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I grew up. I was born in Philadelphia. My parents moved to a 10-acre farm in New Jersey when I was 8 years old. And I graduated high school, moved to Vermont, Stratton specifically, and to pursue my dream, which was becoming a pro snowboarder. People throw that term around pretty loosely, pro. I was sponsored. I had a travel budget at one point, but I was doing what I loved.
Right.
And man, what a time. So, I grew up heavily into counterculture, skateboarding, surfing, and then that led to snowboarding. Mm-hmm. And so it was only natural for me to end up pursuing that. High school was a challenge. School was a challenge. I'm not a traditional learner, so I needed to carve my own path.
Nice one there. I like that. I like that.
And so this was early 90s when I'd moved up there, graduated school and moved up there. And it was an interesting time. What's interesting really is how we're living in this moment now in 2025 and seeing how the 90s is coming back and influencing a lot of fashion.
Yep.
But, when you talk about, baggy jeans specifically, that started on the snowboard hill back, in the mid to, or the early to mid 90s. When I'd moved to Stratton, snowboarding, they weren't building parks. They built a half pipe. Stratton's known as one of the birthplaces of snowboarding. And we had a half pipe, but there were no parks. There wasn't a bunch of competition. It was in this transitional period where it was still dominated by a heavy counterculture, but a rock aesthetic, a punk rock aesthetic, and a thrash aesthetic. And although I respected and had that as part of my playlists, my life was hip hop.
That's awesome.
My life was hip hop culture, and it was a great time to be into that. Back then, there was this transformation of traditional hip hop into acid jazz. There was a club happening in New York City called Giant Step that I would come down to from Vermont down. But, it was interesting. I didn't find many of my people at Stratton because they were all on this other side. Then one day, I ran into Jay Fusco, who was a student at Stratton Mountain School.
Okay.
And he had I introduced myself because he had a sticker on his binding. It was an original 555 Soul sticker with an 8-ball on it. And at that time, not a lot of people knew what 555 Soul was.
I don't know what it is now. Can you elaborate?
As background, 555 Soul started out of a little storefront on 151 Ludlow on the Lower East Side, founded by Camille. And Camille started sewing leftover patterns into some funky hats that were worn by the Diggable Planets, De La Soul, and the whole Native Tongue crew.
That's awesome.
Tribe Called Quest. She grew the brand from that little storefront and ultimately got acquired and distributed at Nordstrom. But it was one of those. I'm so stoked that you don't know about it too, because like it maybe your viewers don't. And it was a gem. When I think about one of the Hall of Fame streetwear brands, it's definitely up there. And so that's when I knew that Jay was my people. And so I DJ'd, he DJ'd, we wrote graffiti, and snowboarded, and we got to share those stories on the hill.
What were you listening to at that point? Like, what were your go-to groups?
It was a lot. Jazzmatazz Volume 1 from Guru.
Nice.
Diggable Planets, Bahamadia, who else? De La, the whole Native Tongue, Special Ed. Who else? So Smith & Wesson. So who was it before Smith & Wesson? Black Moon.
Okay.
So Black Moon, KRS-One. Thanks for asking, because I'm actually like thinking of what I was spinning at that time.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of KRS-One.
Did you have like a Walkman going down the slopes, or how were you able to listen on the slopes, or was it kind of?
I've never done that.
Really?
I've never, ever done that. I am so connected to the earth and being outside and being in the moment that I have never once put on headphones while I'm snowboarding.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was a little bit ahead of that trend while it was forming, but no, I just wanted to take it all in and hear those natural sounds of the slashes and the carves, and you're riding the half pipe and popping air and things like that. So that was a great time. Basically, I moved on from Stratton to Vail, Colorado.
Okay.
So
cool. So you went like to the big, like I'm sure there's a lot in Stratton too, but like Colorado's like.
It was a huge step up.
Yeah.
It was a huge step up. And it was the next season. I was still at Stratton. It was February, and it started to fucking rain.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I looked at my buddy Doug Burns, and we packed up the car and headed west. Some friends of ours lived in a 2-bedroom apartment at the base of Vail. It was an absolute shithole. There were 8 of us in there at any time, and then a lot of friends coming in and out.
That's awesome.
But it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome to not have to be tied to anything and to live so freely.
Right.
And to really be about one thing, and that was about riding.
That's awesome.
Riding with your friends.
Yeah.
And there was not only did I upgrade the mountain, but I upgraded my crew when I moved to Vail. There was a core crew of future gold medalist Ross Powers at Stratton that Jay Fusco went to school with, but when I moved to Vail, it was a more mature scene, meaning there were more people doing. There was just better terrain, right?
Right.
So you could get better video clips. You could progress your snowboarding faster. And bro, when I tell you it was wild, it was wild. Awesome. We won't go into to some of the. But it's a lot of what you saw in if you watched early skate videos or early snowboard videos. Those things were real. I mean, we were doing Jackass style things before Jackass.
That's awesome.
So, and then that crew a year or two later migrated to Salt Lake City. And
is that another step up over top? Okay, gotcha.
Another step up,
gotcha.
Exactly. And and that crew kept progressing, and building, and it was right around, snowboarding had just been announced that it would be an Olympic sport.
Wow. What year was that?
I think it was 98.
Okay.
And the first year it was an Olympic sport was 2002.
Was that before the X Games or were the X Games after 2000?
X Games were happening.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Winter X Games were happening. Some of my friends were active in the X Games, but I really found myself frankly at the back of the pack. These guys were just so good that I was trying like hell to keep up with them.
Gotcha.
And it frankly got me in trouble. So the first time in Vail, I blew out my right knee.
Oh, okay.
Really trying to push what I was going for.
Right.
And then I blew it out 2 more times in Salt Lake. And by the 3rd time, I went down the mountain in tears with one of my best friends and said, it's time to do something different. I just can't, my body can't take it anymore.
Right.
And so that's when I moved back to New Jersey. I went to school for photography and graphic design.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
And then
Where'd you go?
I went to community college.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Ocean County Community College.
That's awesome.
What was great about it was I saw things. Well, I paid for it myself.
Right.
I could afford it.
Yep.
And because I paid for it, I went more often, and I saw things that I never saw in school, which were good grades.
Right.
I mean, I was basically acing everything. Granted, it was community college, but that was, I had matured so much.
Right.
Living on my own, seeing the United States and seeing the mountains and, coming back and living at the shore and surfing. And it was time for me to evolve my passion back into creativity.
Yep.
So I started my first agency in 2001.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So how did it start out? So obviously you're multidisciplinary now, but was it just mainly graphic design to start? Graphic design and marketing? What was sort of the base?
So it was, we'll call it, it was really simple at that time. It was graphic design with an edge.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you're to take 2001 graphic design with an edge to 2025, defy or die, defy the standard, you have a choice to follow or defy. It's very similar, just with more disciplines built in, right? But I can tell you that the first client that I worked with actually delivered on their promise, which was, we want to do something different.
That's awesome.
And
can I ask who that was?
It was a hair salon in Philadelphia called
cool.
Richard Nicholas.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
And so they needed an ad campaign. At that time, it was print. They needed website, and they needed brochures and business cards, and so brand. We kept the brand really simple, but where we found modality was within the color palette.
Very cool. Very cool.
And the use of photography. So the owner had an archive of photography that looked like it was right out of like the fashion mags of the 70s.
Really? Okay.
Fucking rad.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But it was, how some photography hits you and you feel a certain type of way.
Absolutely.
Uncomfortable. I mean, that's good art, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the way it came across. And I said that black and white photography coupled with a high volume color palette just made it work. But I went to him and I said, Nick, his name was Nick as well.
Nick with a C though, right?
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, gotcha.
and I said, are you cool with this? Like, is it? And he was like, yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome.
And so those are the clients that we try and partner with.
Okay.
As much as we can.
The people who get the vision, the sort of people who are trying something a little bit different versus the...
Yeah, to stand out from the crowd,
That's
right?
awesome.
And to write their own story. So that was our first client. But, the aspirations back then in the early 2000s were to work with a restaurateur who started in Philadelphia named Steven Starr.
Okay, cool.
Never worked with Steven. Surpassed that goal by working with Burton Snowboards for the next 6 years.
That's amazing. Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
And
what sort of stuff were you doing for them? Was it mainly the print and the online? I'm sure in 2001, I remember 2001 and the internet and sort of its infancy at that point, at least for most people. how did workflow change? Like, at least from then to now, because obviously now everything's digital. But back then, was it a lot of physical? Like, you were literally drawing and scanning and things like that? And
So let me just go back to the pitch of
Okay.
how we got it. We were doing some art direction for Snowboard Magazine. We had they'd seen the work. We got a call. We were up against 3 other agencies. We had 72 hours to deliver and to respond to this pitch and basically craft campaigns. And so we crafted a campaign for their protection brand
Okay.
called Protecting Self-Expression. And
That's awesome.
one of the things that we did when we sent them this response was we made art.
That's
Right?
awesome.
What could be more expressive than
Absolutely.
art? And then, the protection protects your brain, which informs your movement and motion and how it. And so, fast forward, we won the account. And when we started, we did a global campaign, global print campaign, which was Protecting Self-Expression, who actually featured multiple gold medalists.
That's awesome.
A big name you might have heard of, Shaun White.
Of course.
Hannah Teeter, Ross Powers, Luke Matrani, Mason Aguirre, Kier Dillon, Danny Davis, the Burton team was stacked and they had to kind of ride this protective stuff. So
Right.
we took them from 4th to 2nd in the space within the first year.
Who was the top?
And
Who was the main?
I don't actually even remember who was
'Cause
leading the pack.
I've heard of
at their-
Burton. I haven't heard of really a lot of the other brands. Burton is the one that when I think of snowboarding, I think of Burton.
I think it was a ski brand.
Really?
I think it was a ski.
Interesting. Okay.
And then it was copied by the because it was very, very different. So, back to Defy or Die. Well, the Shaun White ad itself had Shaun behind his snowboard, just creeping over it. On the bottom of his snowboard was a Yeti. And so he was kind of the other side of the face of the Yeti.
That's cool.
And then we superimposed him in a large diorama. No snowboard action photography was included.
Okay.
That they told us we couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, we got Shaun on board,
That's amazing.
and Shaun was the one that said,
Right. Let's do it.
we can do it.
That's amazing. And you probably stood out because everyone else was doing the snowboard action stuff.
And we had to do it for some of the other riders.
Right.
So we had a mode of the campaign
Right.
that could inject it. But the most memorable one was with Shaun. And actually, we partnered with a photographer from Philadelphia, Pierre Nicola D'Amico,
Okay.
who shot the campaign. At that time, he was shooting Kobe Bryant for Nike as well. So we actually, fun story, this was a couple campaigns after the first campaign. We did a multi-day shoot in San Diego, and Shaun was there, and we shot him on the last day, both in studio and skateboarding, and then took a PJ up to LA and
Okay.
shot
Wow, that's
Kobe.
sick. That's awesome.
It was pretty.
That's amazing.
It was pretty cool.
So was this sort of a dream come true for you? Because obviously this is the career path you wanted to take, but you were working with a brand that were you snowboarding with Burton boards?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, at that time.
At the time, yeah.
So it was great. Like, now fast forward 2025, like golf is golf for me. Like I'm older and like that's my thing.
Right.
But like when we went and met with them, snowboarding was our golf.
Right.
So we'd
Right.
work our ass off. If it snowed, we were on the hill and we were still trying to get things done.
That's awesome.
Have our meetings on the hill.
Right.
Um,
But you were bringing an authentic love of the sport, which probably really helped create such a great marketing strategy because you literally enjoyed it, you loved it yourself, you knew what people wanted, and you were able to inject that into the art, which is awesome.
your question was like, how did it feel or whatever, but I don't think I even realized it. Because I take my work very seriously.
Right.
And you show up, right? And you show up, you deliver, you listen,
Right.
and you evolve. So I remember the snowboarding part of it as a highlight. I remember meeting Jake. I remember being in Jake's apartment because we had to have a meeting off site, and I met a lot of great people working there. Obviously, I met a lot of great athletes. I reconnected with one of my old time friends, Kier Dillon, who is a PA snowboarder that was
That's awesome.
one of the best half pipe riders, but he grew up in the Poconos. But he was on a team. And we got to do great things. We shot at Milk Studio up in New York City. We shot on location in Winter Park. I got to use the heavyweight crew to actually custom paint the artwork for this element of the campaign. So the names that I mentioned, there were two names, Mikkel Bang and Luke Matrani were part of the team that was called the Littles. So these guys were the junior guys. Okay. I don't know if they were 10 or 12 or whatever they were.
Oh, wow. Really little.
They were young. And so the mode that we built into the campaign for them was actually painted, but we captured moments that they were just skateboarding in the studio,
right.
And they had built this jump. So they put together a bunch of tables, and then they put stacked the helmets up,
right.
And then they skated and ollied over.
That's sick.
The helmets, and that photo that we captured, we sent to Heavyweight Crew and got portrait, and that was the ad.
That's
itself.
amazing.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Okay, very cool. Very cool.
So Heavyweight Crew was one of my favorite art collectives, Tyler, and I forget his partner name, but it was just a fucking rad time, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about it now, you know, what inspired me was a lot of what I had mentioned. So this counterculture, this graffiti, this acid jazz, this music, you know, nothing was stale. And so
right.
that progression within the culture that we were living in also informed the progression of snowboarding.
Right.
Right. And so then the depression hit, 2008, 2009, and frankly, there wasn't any work.
Yeah, makes sense.
And nobody was doing anything brave.
Right.
The apparel design sucked. The campaigns were safe. It was just a bad time. I mean, I hunkered down. Tried to, you know, I weathered the storm, and then one day I got an email inviting me to. No. It was I saw there was a job posting on LinkedIn for a creative director for a international watch publication.
Nice.
And this was groundbreaking for me in my journey. I started to realize what business development meant.
Right. Okay.
And that I needed to there was no business, so I needed to go make it happen. Prior to that, I was gifted with it, just kind of landed in my lap. So that all changed. I reached out and I said, why hire one person when you can hire a crack-ass team by an agency? All right, so submit. We won it. We negotiated on the spot. And then we were the agency of record for International Watch Magazine, which was a luxury watch magazine that was published every 27 days, and it was a fantastic project and medium. It was, you know, we did everything from cover to cover. We didn't do the writing, but we did all the layout.
Right.
The covers were 7-color covers. So if you know 4-color process, we're adding 3 more on top of that. And some of those were, you know, we had reverse finishes, so that was some were matte, some were. It really represented luxury at the moment. And
were you able to do that because they probably had a bigger budget, because their clients were people buying these $50,000, $10,000, $100,000 watches?
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And at that time in my career, I learned a lot. And that's when we started to build the video department, was at that time.
And around what year was this?
So 2012, 2014.
Okay. So like right when, like, because YouTube's been around since I'm really only familiar with YouTube in terms of
Yeah,
video,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like YouTube started in like what, 2005, 2006, and then it really started to hit in 2010, 2012. And that's, even then, it still wasn't mainstream. Just people were watching it. It's like, maybe I'll check out this YouTube video later, but no one was thinking it was an actual thing. Like I don't think AdSense was really a thing just yet. So you were really at the beginning of it. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, it's I've always just followed my passions and my gut,
Yeah.
and ask myself constantly, what is it that makes you happy, and how can you do more of it? Now, granted, I don't live my life entirely like that, but I ask myself those questions and restructure and reframe as I go on. And it was a great storytelling device. It was a challenge because there's some rules within just shooting watches. So, for instance, you are shooting. It's best practice to have the hands at 10 and 2.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Industry standard.
That makes sense.
Absolutely industry standard. And if you don't, then you're not taken seriously.
Really? Wow. And does it have to be exactly, or just slightly off to make it look like it's...
It could. So I've seen it mostly exact, and that's
And those are for still images or for videos? So for a video, are you letting it kind of go, or are you kind of...
You let it go. You let it go for video. But still. But it was just an example of like, there are some rules.
Yeah, that's...
And if you don't play by these rules, I mean, fast forward, it was great. We did broadcast commercial. We did a lot of things. But I woke up one morning and it didn't feel right to me anymore. And so I asked myself, what do you want to do more of? And that's when we transitioned into like consumer electronics. And that was that was an exciting time. I got to go to CES 5 or 6 years in a row, which was super inspiring.
Always wanted to go to CES. How was it? Is it cool?
It's super rad. It was super rad. I haven't been back since the pandemic, but you absolutely have to go. It is the entire town of Las Vegas. So people, people who hadn't gone before, they were like, "Oh, which convention center is that?"
Right.
Every fucking one every hotel room, every ballroom. It's not one. It is massive.
Right.
You can't get a dinner reservation. You can't get you can't get a cab.
Right.
You're walking miles to get to the convention centers and to get around.
Gosh. Okay.
But it's electric.
Right.
You're seeing the future. Right. Yeah. And we've always prided ourselves on kind of finger on the pulse, and just seeing what our competition's doing. So we weren't selling big electronic accessories, marketing wise, chargers, cables, things like that.
Cool.
It was because crafting stories around how people use those was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure.
And then
that's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting to think about that because usually I'm starting to branch out a bit more into tech for my YouTube journey.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because I feel like I love sneakers and they're still the main thing, but tech also has just been a passion of mine. But it's interesting, like in the same way that you're crafting a story around a cable, like cables are things that people buy more than anything else. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, like, because I've done YouTube shorts on a cable versus, the new TV is sexy, but the cable is the thing that you use every day and the thing that you don't want to break.
And that you'll buy more often than you will a TV. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I probably bought 5 in the last month.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it was really fun. But where we find ourselves right now in 2025 is and I just came from a partner meeting and I went over all our active clients and our pipeline and then the industries. We're not niche by design.
Right.
Biotech, fintech, retail, sportswear, hospitality, utility.
That's amazing.
I mean, because like our uniqueness is the perspective that we have that we can grace, new campaigns or new rebrands or new storytelling devices from what we've learned from working with clients like Nike, which could inform the fintech, the biotech, and all, and we still have our proven storytelling framework.
Right.
But what's interesting, how can we shake it up? And then how can that help our other clients? So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we're not niche by design. I did want to mention, I guess back in, it was during the Burton days.
Okay.
It was during the Burton days. There's a collective of artists that went by the label Beautiful Losers.
Okay.
Have you heard of them? So this was, one of them was from Philadelphia, Stephen Espo Powers.
Okay.
Barry McGee, Todd James, Phil Frost, and many others. But that was very much, that was the art that was being put onto the snowboards.
Gotcha.
And that was the art that not a lot of people knew about and were seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that time, we started to publish our own magazine. And that was
your own agency's magazine?
That was a product, yeah. So the magazine was called Living Proof.
Okay.
And it was distributed nationwide at Tier 0
awesome.
outlets, including Supreme New York and Supreme LA and St. Alfred and others. Dan Christensen, who was my right hand at 215 at that time, and it was our brainchild. And it came to fruition because, Seth, we wanted to do something different than client work.
Right.
And we found that people didn't know about these artists that I took for granted.
Awesome.
That was just part of me.
Right.
And like people didn't know about them.
Right.
And so it was distributed at those outlets, but also published on Hypebeast and High Snobiety.
That's awesome.
I think we did 5 or 6 issues. Ryan McGinnis, who's also a Beautiful Loser, was on there. Ron English was included.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, we went to Ron's studio. We did some video. But because it was a passion project, and we had limited time and resources, and it was hard to get brands to support it. It died, and I let it die. And I wish I didn't, because right now there are 2 interesting other companies. One, Living Proof New York, doing, from what I see, is doing an absolutely amazing job on publishing, very much like what my brainchild was.
Wow,
but they're doing it more often, and they're publishing, and it looks like they have a lot more momentum. So it's cool. I had to let it go. But since then, we've started our own agency publication called Swipe Files.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to bring back elements of Living Proof, but it won't be, one-to-one. It'll be evolved, just like,
Gotcha.
Just
well,
like
it probably
everything.
has to be, because it's just a different world now, and people are interested in different things, different artists. Now, I wanted to ask you, because this is something that I think probably a lot of people watching, and I've also been interested in just growing up and exploring art myself, starting something like that. What does that entail? Like, obviously, you can write some stuff on your own. You can pull together some imagery, but then like actually getting it out there, publishing it, getting it in the retailers you want it to be in. Like, how does that all sort of work? How would you start something like that?
Hustle.
Okay, that makes sense.
You start with you start with a plan. We had a plan, and we didn't get into all the retailers we wanted to. We didn't publish on time. We didn't. But what we did do is produced a fantastic end product, and it was perfect bound. It was over 100 pages each issue. Wow. And it featured artists that not a lot of people knew about, and so we were telling new stories to some new people. And awesome. When we did get it, we wrapped it uniquely, so it felt very intentional. But you start with a plan. We had the design resources internally. Dan did all the outreach to the artists. We crafted the content and ultimately, went to print with it. We actually had a majority of the issues were manufactured out of Canada, and then the Ron English one was done out of China. I was doing a lot of business in China at that time, and so I published it over there, and we had it sent over. But it was a really really fun time. It was the vehicle for my staff to express themselves and to not have somebody else saying this is wrong or move this or make the logo bigger or that basic shit.
That's awesome. So like, how long does that take? How long does a 100-page like photo written out piece take?
Took us months.
I bet. I bet.
It took us a really long time, and we, just because we were limited on resources, we were limited on funds, but we had a process, and so we would build a pagination wall.
Okay.
Do you know what pagination?
I actually don't know. I don't know what that's.
So
okay.
a pagination wall. Imagine the magazine front to back, blank squares on
Gotcha.
a wall. And so we would map out the 100 pages.
That makes sense.
And then
That makes sense.
we would name the different sections. So we had programming with it, consistent programming within the magazine that wouldn't change. And so
Gotcha.
those would be the first things that we would populate. Then we would populate our aspiration artists. So who we really want in this, not that we have,
Right.
but who we really want.
Right.
And then we would fill in, the rest with ads. And then we would contact the artists, we'd contact writers, we'd hold them to delivery, and once we got it, we'd pop it into layout. We'd replace those blank squares with the pages.
Makes sense. So you already knew the number of pages that you were aiming for at that point. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you had like probably one main artist that you'd highlight, and then some smaller artists that you had like certain pages for. So I'm assuming that Ron English would probably be the centerfold.
So and he was on the cover, but we did dual covers.
Oh, cool.
So I think for the Phil Frost issue, Stephen Harrington, which you probably know from sneaker culture, and his collaborations with Nike, he was the back artist. So we always did dual covers, which was super fun.
Yeah.
We focused on photography as a medium, graffiti, painting, and those were our three. I think it's kind of vague memory right now, but
that's awesome.
But yeah, I know that was a great time.
Yeah,
and something interesting came out of that relationship where one of the writers that contributed to that magazine, all of a sudden, we worked together at Complex too, but ended up working at Nike.
That's amazing.
And
that's amazing.
He called me one day and said, I'm over here now, and we might need some strategy work, and we started working together with Nike, and that grew into doing a lot of assignments for some of which you haven't seen the light of day, but it was really fun. And the only point of that is that you never know where relationships are going to come from and grow. And now he's one of my best friends.
That's amazing.
I mean, he even did the foreword for Virgil's last book.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Something's Off, the Something's Off one.
Right. That's wow. That's amazing. Like, this is so cool. Okay, so tell me about, obviously a lot of people watching are probably sneakerheads, so they probably are going to want to hear a little bit more about Nike, but tell me about some of your favorite projects that you've done with Nike that you can talk about, and maybe some of the stuff that you did. Like, what did it involve? Was it print? Was it online ads? What was it? Like, what was the whole?
So one of my favorites, which is public actually, is the Work in Progress video documentary series that we did, and that spotlighted roles at Nike that you may not know exist. So the third episode was a sweat scientist, and
oh, wow.
And so telling his story in a longer form,
right.
meaning between 10 and 12 minutes, and then cutting that down and chapterizing it for content.
Right.
There was one. They have awards that are called Maxim awards at Nike. And you get to nominate your colleague who's done an amazing job, and then there's a big party. Mm-hmm. And that was episode 2. That was Celine, and we got to document her journey, awesome. Including a live show with Travis Scott, and Drake was the Maxim Award MC. So that was pretty fucking cool.
So when you win a Maxim, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, Drake and Travis are there. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my. So is it one person per year, per quarter, or whatever the case may be, or is it one person in departments?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep, one person. It's annually, but they had stopped it during the pandemic.
Gotcha.
And so we got the first one back post-pandemic,
amazing.
And so that's why it was so big with Drake and Trav and shit.
Right. That's amazing.
But episode 1 was really iconic because it was an archivist. And so you'll see it. You probably see it now. DNA, Department of Nike Archives.
That's awesome.
Episode 1, we got to film in DNA, and I saw the first Jordan, and I saw all the things that I never saw growing up, but lived through.
Right.
You know, Barkley was one of my favorites. But I mean, even into surfboards from Laird Hamilton from the time he did with ACG. I mean, it was, I talked about taking my job serious. It was really tough in there. You have to.
Right.
But you're a kid in a candy store.
Right.
And so, you're looking around and surrounded by iconic archives that, frankly, I never thought most people don't see. They don't see. It's not on the main campus.
Wow.
It's an undisclosed location.
I bet it has to be.
Yeah, so I mean that was great, and obviously like meeting Drake but
you guys meet him?
Yeah, I mean we were right next to Trav on stage.
That's amazing.
Because we were filming. It was part of the content that.
So he was already dropping sneakers with Nike at this point because it was after COVID.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. So yeah. How do you feel about? So okay, I want to because you're a sneakerhead obviously, and I do want to get into that and
old head.
Right.
Let me clarify. An old head.
Well, it's crazy. Even as a 33-year-old, people have said that now if you didn't start liking sneakers in the mid 2010s, you're one of the OG. And it's like, no, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? The first Jordan came out in 1985, and there was sneaker culture before that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's wild to me. But regardless, so I want to, before we jump into like sort of your sneaker history, I want to know what you think about current collaborations that are not so much with artists like Virgil, but are with musicians, like outside of sports collaborations and artist collaborations. How do you feel about like the Yeezys or I'm not specifically like his recent stuff, but like his Nike Yeezys or like the Travis Scotts or this new age of collaborators? Is that something that you think is one sustainable, but also something that you enjoy?
I'm enjoying Trav's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trav does think I think he's really a true artist, and he expresses he defies. He really does, and so I love to see those collaborations. I can't think of one that I didn't really like.
Oh, fair enough.
As far as the first Yeezys that came out, they're absolutely iconic.
Right.
I never owned a pair of Yeezys post Nike.
Okay. You never had any of the Adidas ones? Gotcha.
Never. But I did like the Boost technology. But I wasn't, that wasn't my mindset. It was a little outside of my lane.
Mm-hmm. What about like the Drake stuff? Do you like his sort of retro inspired? Yeah, his Nocta stuff. Like it's sort of the almost 90s inspired stuff that he's been releasing.
Yeah. No, I do fuck with Nocta.
That's awesome.
A lot. But I think Action Bronson's collaboration with New Balance is interesting. I saw a cup over there, and it's not artist driven, but the Bodega ASICS collaboration was one of my favorites.
Love those.
I like things that actually. One of my favorite recent collaborations is the Concepts Air Max 1.
Like the heavy and the what are they called? The ones with all the different patterns. Yep,
yes. I love them because they're so chaotic.
Yes.
Yet harmonious.
Absolutely.
And that to me is perfection.
I agree.
Of a craft.
Is that would you say that's your favorite current or somewhat current sneaker? At least release?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of, I'm fortunate enough to be seated a lot of shoes right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, but I don't love them all. I think I don't love the ones that have the highest price tag.
Yeah.
I love the ones that I see the rarest.
Yeah.
So, and I almost wore them today. One of my favorites right now is the breakdance shoe. I forget the model.
Yes, the I know Futura had a collaboration on them. I forget the name of it, but it's dope. Yeah.
So I got some silver ones with a red swoosh and black, and the silver was not high polish. It just felt right. It really. I was like, yo, these are kind of like, I don't even like evolved dad shoe ish things,
right?
And they're like, they're kind of ugly and corny, and that's why I love them. And so awesome. I'm not going to lace them up. I'm going to keep them unlaced.
That's awesome.
And there's some, like, the tongue feels good. And, like, I've never seen anyone wear them.
You never see it. I've seen them in Foot Locker, but then all of a sudden they disappeared. They were there for maybe the first week that they released during the Olympics, or I guess they released maybe right after the Olympics. But I saw them for about a week, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll grab a pair, and then gone. And I don't think it's because they sold out. I think they maybe shipped them back to the outlets or something, but I have not seen a pair since that first week. And I don't know why. Or maybe people like you who are really into this aesthetic, and I like the aesthetic too, so people like us, bought them all up, and there's just not a lot of them. And so maybe you just don't see them on people's feet that often, but they are cool.
I'm going to hit you with a sleeper.
Yeah.
AJ2 lows.
The Chicago, the OG ones? Yes. Yep.
I have them, not the Chicagos. I have them in white, off-white, and maroon.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
One, they fit like a slipper.
Right.
Two, I can't wear them out without getting compliments.
Really?
There's something so, and I don't fuck, Seth, when I tell you I don't fuck with white shoes. I don't fuck with white sneakers. And this is just from me being an old head back in the day. Like I only had one pair. I liked color. I liked expressiveness on my feet.
Right.
I have two modes basically, all black or pretty fucked up colors.
Right.
You know, like those concepts. But these, because they're so simple and streamlined and debadged, people, if you know, you know.
Right.
But every single time I wear them out, people are like, yo, those are nice.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I have an OG pair of sixes.
Oh, really?
Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those twos the OG ones, like the Made in Italy ones?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I was going to say, I've never felt the Made in Italy's in hand. I want to know if the quality truly is that next level of quality.
No, they're just, I mean, and the whole point is like, I live how I feel, and
awesome.
and I put on my feet what I feel is right, and feels good. I don't switch, I don't switch it up a lot, but the brown Tom Sachs.
I like those.
General purpose.
Yeah.
Those were great.
Are they comfy on foot, the general purpose ones?
They are comfy on foot. I have, I think, an issue with my ankles, so I can't find the right the right pressure to put on the laces.
Oh, interesting.
So they're either too loose,
right,
and I slip a little bit, or they're too tight. So I can't find necessarily the right medium. But it's funny, as we were talking before we got on, I talked to you. You had you had Travis's mustards over there.
Yep.
And I have a pair of Foot Patrol Air Stab mustard and baby blue that are probably 2006, 2008, and
awesome.
Those are some of my favorite pair.
What are you wearing right now, actually?
180s.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
For the viewers who can't see, are they the Aquas? Or the what's the name of that? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Black and aqua. Recent, I'm a 180 dude.
That's awesome. So the recent, because they've been bringing them back.
Yep.
That's great. That's awesome.
And I'm psyched on that. I mean, I'm a 180 and 90 dude. So like my 90s collection is Clerk Pack, Nash, Huff. Like
they just brought back the Huffs too, didn't they? Or is
the
it
Huff Quake?
Yeah, I think so. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did that in a 90 and an AF1.
Gotcha.
But I have a pair of black with a neon bubble, Desert Storm camo on the tongue, and infrared above the bubble.
Wow.
180s.
Wow, that's awesome.
They weren't Colette, but they were a Paris collaboration.
Okay.
And
I can't even think of those. I must not have seen them. How are they older?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They're at that same time. So I would say anywhere between 2006 and 2010, maybe.
Okay.
But that's when all those collaborations were happening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What got you into sneakers originally? Was it snowboarding, or that culture?
It was skateboarding.
Skateboarding.
Yeah, it was skateboarding. You know, I can remember my first pair of Jordans, and
What were they?
fours,
Nice.
cements.
Nice. That's awesome. That's one of the best first pairs ever.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The funny part, Seth, is that my mom was like, "You can get them if you can fit into the junior ones." And I was like, I can fit. Fuck it. I'm squeak. Where's the shoehorn? Like, yeah, I'll fit into those motherfuckers.
Oh
I
my
needed
gosh.
those in my life. And that was the spark.
Yeah.
And so from there, you know, I had Ewings.
Nice.
I had K-Swiss. I had a big variety all throughout from 8th grade until now.
That's awesome.
You know, I had New Balance highs.
Really?
Basketball shoes
That's
because
awesome.
nobody was wearing those.
Right.
I had Converse boat shoes.
Oh wow.
So
I
Converse
didn't even know
released
they made boat shoes.
Converse released these boat shoes in these vivid colors. They weren't actually vivid colors, but there was purple, yellow. Like I mean,
Right.
it was kind of like a Van silhouette,
Right.
but it was even cleaner.
Really? Okay.
And there was no marking or nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
But I mean, I could go on for days. I mean,
Let's do it. Let's go. So Converse boat shoes, no branding on them.
Yeah, no branding on them. But I'm fast forwarding back up to now. So I have a pair of undefeated 90s that are ripstop.
Nice.
And a metallic hit on the back, just triple black. I mean, you know, everything's black except the metallic hit. And because of the ripstop on the toe, people notice that they're different. And they came with bright pink laces.
That's awesome.
Another pair of laces that they came with, clear. Did I tell you this story?
I feel it sounds.
So what the fuck are clear laces?
Is it the plastic ones that are kind of like woven and they're kind of like bungee almost, like finger traps?
They do not work well in the winter.
Oh,
I will tell you. I'm hoping they
That's
work
funny
better
you
in
say
the
that
summer.
because I know exactly what you're talking about.
I had my pink laces in there forever, and then I took the pinks out for the winter and just put straight black in.
Right.
I tried the clears. I couldn't tie them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the what are the other undefeated ones that just came out?
I don't know.
Not just came out, but within the last year.
Are they Air Maxes?
No, they're like an Hamaras.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool.
But I have
Very cool.
again triple black. Like I have. I mean, they've got some dope like purple ones
Yep.
and mustard ones,
Yep.
and like I would fuck with those. Like, but I got the all black ones because
That's
like
awesome.
yeah. I mean, so these like my top row right now, black wise, it's those two pairs of undefeated Samaras and 90s and these 180s.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are there any shoes that you're really looking forward to this year that you know of that are coming out?
You know, I don't even know what's coming out.
Right. That's probably healthy. I feel like
It is
gets
for
to obsessive levels for me.
it is for me because I like the element of surprise.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I also like process. Like when I go back to the A6 Bodega, you know, they did a great job of documenting their process on how this was built and the color choices. The
Yep.
purple and green and brown, dog.
Yeah.
Yo.
I know. It's great.
Yo.
That's one thing I love. I'm a huge Bodega fan. And it's not just because they've worked with me in the past. I think the reason they even reached out initially was because I voiced my love for them. But their storytelling's amazing. Yeah. And it's not storytelling for the sake of storytelling, which is such a huge, I mean, I feel like a lot of brands, no brand in particular, but a lot of brands think that storytelling is necessary for every colorway. And it's not.
No.
Some colorways are just dope.
Yep.
And it's like, if you're going to tell a story, tell it. You know what I mean? Don't make something up after the fact.
Right, manufacture.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, because anybody with two set of eyes can see right through it.
Exactly.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Are there any brands that you think right now that you think of when you think of a really great collaboration that or maybe even a great storyteller? Are there any brands that you, besides Bodega, would consistently go back to? or Collaborator specifically? I know you mentioned concepts with the Air Maxes. Were you a fan of the lobsters, like any of the lobster dunks that they dropped? No?
It's so subjective
Totally.
with me. You know what I mean? I
completely understand.
think anything that's like on the hype train, I usually doesn't hit with me.
Fair enough.
Again, if I like it,
Right.
I don't give a fuck if it's
Yeah.
on the hype train or
Absolutely,
not.
yeah.
But like hype for hype's sake,
Right.
I sort of distance myself from. But yeah, I don't even know what's coming out.
Did you? So apparently there's a rumor that they're coming out with the undefeated fours again. Is that a shoe that you would grab? And obviously incredibly hyped up, but also an olive pair of fours with orange laces is dope.
Oh my god,
It's so sick.
Those were. Yeah. So the short answer is fuck yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's you're getting it now. You're kind of seeing where so you got this 90s dude.
Yep.
Right. You got the 180 dude. You got AJ's 2s, 3s, 4s, and 6s.
Right.
They just sent me
good
some
set.
9 golf shoes, so I'm gonna.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fair nice. Which colorway? Is it the?
It's the darker one.
Very nice.
They're
Very nice.
fucking dope.
That's sick.
My golf game isn't to match it though, so I'm
My
like,
golf
I
game's terrible. Yeah.
I'm gonna be that dude that's gonna be rocking these. So I'm hyped. I got them.
What did you think about the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 golf shoes? Or the golf ones?
I like.
Did you see? They're olive, and then they've got like white or cream colored overlays. It's basically the Travis Scotts that we got this year, except in a golf version from last year.
I like that silhouette.
But it's $1,500. I'm not.
No. I don't like it that much. I mean, I have prior to the 9s they sent me. I was using some 90s.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you? So I've just picked up golf in the last year, and I've been golfing in primarily ones, mainly because I like the way that they look. I had a pair of I think it was from Eastside Golf. It was 6s. It was the 6 lows.
It was from Eastside.
It was from Eastside. It was the green. It was the 1961s. I think is the The problem was with those is that the plastic are they cleats or are they what are they called?
Spikes. We just call them spikes.
The plastic spikes. When I got into the golf cart, I slipped and I slammed my shin against the side, and I think I actually chipped a bone because it still is 6 months ago. It still to this day is killing me.
No way.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awful.
It's crazy. So I went back to the ones, but the problem with the ones is they don't grip, and I'm terrible at golf, so I'm probably not swinging the right way. But there's not any grip.
Me too.
So it's like. So I'm just.
Have you ever fallen over? Swung so hard you
Probably.
almost fall over.
I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of bad things in golf, man. It's terrible.
Well, but only being into it 1 year, at least you're still getting out there and you're finding a way.
I haven't really been this year, but it was.
Well, I know you've got some things to handle on
yeah.
the home front.
That's been the main thing.
So
Yeah.
I'd imagine that takes priority.
It does. But I would like to get back out. If you ever want to go golfing, hit me
Yeah,
up. If you want to golf with
absolutely.
someone way worse than you, hit me
Yeah,
up.
that's perfect. Perfecto. What are you looking forward to? What's on your radar?
I do think the undefeated fours would be great. I'm afraid that they're gonna either completely mass produce them to a point where no one cares about them anymore. Which I wouldn't say I'm a hype beast, but I do enjoy having something that has a story behind it and isn't overdone. Like when Nike was bringing back all the PEs, I'm like, why do you? There was it just felt like too much. But again, probably my hype beast showing is what it was. A lot of the shoes that I was excited about have already come out, like the Bread 85 ones.
Duh.
Those were
I mean,
I know.
shit.
I just got a pair of I've had a pair of actual 1985 Bread ones for about a year, but I finally got a pair in my size this last year, which I was excited about. So I was able to compare them side by side with the 1985 re-releases.
Yeah.
Galaxy foam posits, because 2012, I was 20 in 2012. So I was that's really when I was working a retail job in college, and I was starting to make some money that I could spend on some sneakers. Mm-hmm. And so shoes like that sort of time frame was when I was like, okay, I'm actually going to spend some money on shoes. So that's when I'm most nostalgic for, even though growing up I was still interested in sneakers. I still liked them. I just was never, it was one of those things that while my parents probably wouldn't have bought me pairs if I'd been asking for them, it wasn't ever a thing that I was like, okay, I really need this pair of whatever. I enjoyed them, and if I had a pair of Jordans, I'd rock it, I'd love it, but it wasn't like a physical need for me the way that it became as I got older. So the Galaxy foam posits, because I missed out on those.
Those have already dropped.
They did already drop. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I wanted are.
Yeah.
You know what a pair? Are you familiar with the Nigel Sylvester Brick by Bricks that dropped earlier this year?
Of course.
How did you feel about those?
I fuck with them.
I do too. Yeah.
So I have a pair of torsion ASIC A-Life Rivington clubs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That are similar. They're all this reddish tone. They're not as bright as those.
Right.
But I often forget about them, and I've never seen anybody else wear them. I mean,
Right.
I had a couple other pair of A-Life sneakers too, but the storytelling behind the Brick by Brick was great, and he's
cool, yeah.
he's a kick-ass
Yeah.
fucking biker, and it's I like to see those collaborations.
Me too. Because that's one that I really think is truly authentic to him. He's really able to, they give him just enough leeway to really tell his story. Like, I feel like the Jordan 4 RMs that released last year, where he was able to talk about his grandma's driveway or whatever the story was, the shoe itself he probably wasn't involved in.
Right.
But the colorway he was able to tell
You could
some
totally tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And they're just trying to push the model. And to be fair, I like the RMs. They're dope.
Yeah.
But you could tell. But with the Brick by Bricks, they're like, okay, here's probably our most popular silhouette right now. Do something dope. And he nailed it.
No, I agree.
And it's wild. I didn't like
Do you have a pair?
I did. So here's the thing. I do. I've actually had 3. So the first pair I got for a review. It wasn't exactly my size, but I was able to wear it. And I was like, these are fine. But I wasn't in love with them. And then I saw a friend of mine, I sold them. And then I saw a friend of mine put the white laces in. And I'm like, the white laces changed the whole thing. And so I had to buy another pair. And then I actually bought another pair because I'm going to give it away on a live stream. But I've had 3 pairs in the span of like 2 months.
That's awesome.
But like, it's those white laces. It was crazy how much the white laces visually made a difference to me. But then also it opened my mind a little bit to more of the storytelling. And I'm like, okay, now I love the shoe. Yeah.
I can't pronounce the artist or the collaborator, but those purple suede 4s recently were really nice.
Okay. Ama Manier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I always pronounce it the way that I thought it would be in French, but I heard
Did you like those?
I do like those. I do like that. It was surprising that they ended up being pretty easy to get, because all the original Ama stuff was like, at least the 3s, super difficult to get, and then all of a sudden just the hype. I don't know if it was after the COVID sort of drop of sneakers or what it was, but people just weren't. But I think it's a beautiful shoe.
Yeah. I love that classic.
It's a color that you'd never see on sneakers either too. So it's like one of those shoes that I think.
And I'm just super into purple. Now too.
Yeah.
Like, and I have been the last couple of years.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So tell me, where is Defy now? What is your sort of your future looking, or your future direction? And then also a question I like to ask. I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you.
Cool.
If you were to restart today with all the knowledge that you have, but start from zero and either get back to where you are or even get further from where you are now, what would you do differently? How would you, I guess, navigate life in this modern world with the knowledge that you have?
Navigate life or build my business?
Build a business.
Okay. I would start hustling every day from the beginning and owning that with the mindset of you miss every shot you don't take. And what I mean, it took me, as I said earlier in the show, a long time to understand that business development is important and to sell yourself. So, if I was to do it again, I would invest heavily in Nik Greenblatt and his wins and losses and storytelling framework, while also building whatever it, Defy would be, and building them, in tandem, and constantly going for the ask, and leading with the value and what that's going to provide, and helping. In the Jewish religion we call it tzedakah, and that is to help and to give, and that's really important to an important element of my life.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. That was a great answer. I love that. And I think that's something that it's so interesting seeing this sort of hustle culture that we have on the internet, but people don't follow through with that. They say it, but they never follow through with it. It's crazy to me.
I mean, some do, right?
Some do, but
the
vast majority.
Right? Like, no, seriously. So how long have you been doing this?
So YouTube so I started my first channel in 2007.
Okay.
But then finishing out high school and then going into college in 2010, I just kind of stopped. But then the sneaker channel I have now is going on 9 years. Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah.
And how many subscribers? Certainly over a million.
1.2 million.
Okay.
But now I'm trying to build up a tech channel on the side, which I've really enjoyed. But it's interesting. One thing that's, I think, going back to the hustle culture thing, if you don't see the immediate success, you're like, what am I doing? But there was something about the YouTube channel that initially for the first year, nothing, absolutely nothing. And then just pumping, and all of a sudden the pieces all started to fall into place. And then I've mentioned this a lot, but like I got fired from my job in New York, and I'm like, this is the time. Like I have to either do this now or I'm never gonna do it. And so yeah.
What story did you tell yourself that first year when there were no hits to keep following your dream?
I don't know. I think it was, I would come home from work and I just wouldn't feel fulfilled. Like I wouldn't feel like I've really done the thing that I wanted to do, and making videos, still even to this day, was the thing that really gave me joy. And it was a lot of work, and I would come, and my wife, at the time, girlfriend, she lived in Philly still when I was living in New York for about 4 or 5 years. So I really had nothing to do when I got home other than smoke or drink. And I'm like, after a couple years of that, you're like, okay, I'm good for a little bit. Like I can chill and just. So rather than go out all the time, I would sit at home. I was interested in sneakers, so I'd buy a new sneaker and then I'd do a video on it. And I just really enjoyed it.
Did you follow Casey Neistat?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh my gosh. I'd see him. I saw him a couple times scooting around New York, and I said hi. But he's like, oh, I can't talk. I gotta go. But he's been one of those people who was so influential, I think, when I first started, and even to this day a little bit. But he's still, he's awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't know about, one of my employees put me on to him, I think, early on. But I just loved his ability to tell authentic stories in the earlier stages, and this voyeurism.
Yep.
Of like, he would have a lot of the stuff that we would get later, but he would have it earlier, and documenting his failures, whether he was crashing a drone or crashing on the skateboard or whatever.
Yep.
So it just felt really really authentic in that time period. When was that?
That was 2015 to 2018 or something like 20. He did the daily vlog for I think 3 years.
Yeah.
And it felt like he really felt like a friend that you were talking to. Like he'd make you feel like you were close with him, and literally every day you could just sit down. I'd get home from work before I filmed my own video and I'd watch it. And he really is genuinely, I think, going to be looked at in the future as one of those like great filmmakers, because
100%.
He did something just so different.
Yep.
He literally was basically the king of vlogging. He was one of the first people who did it successfully and did it in a way that really made people rethink online media.
Yeah, it was well done. Inspired me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so tell me a little bit about Defy and what you guys do now for clients. Like, what is sort of your how do you approach a new?
Yeah, so clients come to us generally needing a brand strategy.
Okay.
And that strategy then informs a brief, which either informs a rebrand, a brand project, or a creative campaign. And so we've got a pretty proprietary process in that we coming out of the strategy leads to the brief, but then we kick off 2 teams, creative and writers, to work with the creative director on daily check-ins and create a key idea, what that unlocks, and then a narrative over a visual center. And so what does that mean? It's a short, it's your North Star, right? But like, what's the why is what it unlocks. And when I say narrative, it's a story that builds over time with a payoff. And so one of the things that we'd done was, which is weird, we branded the global finance function within Nike. Why, do you ask?
Yeah.
Because they lack consistency.
Right.
They lacked foundation, and everything looked different, and there was no common voice. But we coined the line "efficiency wins." We did the same thing for Nike HR. We coined the term "a breath of fresh HR."
That's awesome.
Awesome. Obviously the play on air and how it ladders up too.
Yep.
I mean, we did a similar exercise for APTHCRY.
Yeah, you did.
All
the packaging you guys did.
Common cures.
Yep. Yep.
not your over-the-counter sock.
Yep. If you actually saw, well, if the people watching saw literally behind this is a whole banner which has all of the stuff that you did for us on it. Yeah.
Rare Remedies.
Yep.
I mean, those, and what do those ladder up to? The brand name.
Yep. Absolutely.
APTHCRY.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So then they go away 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, come back and present to the client, and that narrative and visual system inform the proofs of concept. So whether it's a social campaign, in a perfect world, it'll be omni-channel.
Right.
So we would be doing broadcasts, we would be doing outdoor, we would be because we want to meet people where they are and they're not just on their phones.
Right.
Based on their audience, even people on their phones get outside,
yeah.
and take it in,
yeah.
And that's what those proofs of concept would inform, and then the creatives present it, and then we revise it, and then we make it and put it into market.
Awesome.
They could have web components. Right now, if I would tell you what we're working on right now, a global rebrand, video storytelling series, a hospitality creative campaign, and they all have different components to them, but they're informed by this strategy. Mm-hmm. And that is real foundational work to inform why we make these intentional choices for the creative.
Right.
And so you can skip that step. And sometimes, we help out smaller companies that don't have the budget for that phase. Mm-hmm. So we found some ways to work around. We found some workshops that we can still, buckle down and get some of the key information that we need. Mm-hmm. Not as comprehensive as the full brand strategy process that we would prefer, but there's always that discovery and strategy that informs the brief, that informs the key idea and what it unlocks over the visual center.
That's awesome. So do brands usually know what they want when they come to you, or they say, hey, we need help in this area, or we want to be this kind of, or do they come to you with like a vision of where they want to be, and then you make that happen? Or how does that all work?
I would say the more mature companies like Nike mm-hmm. know process
Gotcha.
and how it works and what to expect. A majority of all other companies, no matter how big or small, don't know what brand is.
Right.
And, they approach it from a color and a font and a logo, and that ain't it. It's a feeling.
Right.
Brand is a feeling. And, it's critical. A lot of what we do is educate. We can't prescribe anything without educating. And it gets exhausting, but it's so essential because I would want to be educated. Yeah. Like, I don't know what my lawyer knows. I don't know what my accountant knows. I'm not telling my doctor where to put the incision or put, Yeah. So it is. It's really critical. But as far as the future goes, I think nobody knows what the future it holds. Mm-hmm. I would say that we will stay foundationally within our process and approach to solving problems and differentiating brands and creating value in relationships, and doing more of what we love. And so, as I said, I was meeting with a colleague earlier today. We want to do just more film.
That's awesome.
We want to do a lot more film storytelling, mini documentaries, and maybe down the road do features. Awesome. We think that bigger brands should be thinking bigger about programming, and Volvo just released a really good short film. What's funny, and Google this after we're done, Guy Ritchie, back in a long time ago, maybe 2000, it may have been before. Did BMW films.
Really?
I think there was a series called The Driver.
Okay.
Holy shit, he was 25 years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And so was BMW
no
for investing in Guy Ritchie to do this programming that nobody was doing video. And this felt so cinematic. Oh my God.
Yep.
It was phenomenal. But brands have stories to tell, And if the audience is only Gen Zs or Gen X, fine, they can be 15 seconds.
Right.
They're not even gonna watch 30s, unless it's but if you have a more mature audience that is interested in your narrative, then there is the appetite for longer form storytelling.
Right.
And and so I think that's a big opportunity. It's one of which we would love to do. I mean, growing my team, not necessarily in numbers, but in aesthetic and taste, and asking the hard questions.
Yep.
And giving them the opportunity to tell me like it is, which they do, which is an uneasy thing to do, and sometimes to hear. But
sure.
to work through those uncomfortable, to give them the medium, and then to work through those uncomfortable moments is maturity in itself. So
that's awesome. That's great. That's really great. So I guess to sort of round things off, what's your favorite part of the job? What's your favorite part of the process?
The start and the end. I would say concepting. Mm-hmm. And hunting. So, there's what do I do? Business development and creative. And so the hunt and then the win, mm-hmm. and then the concept, and then to see it in fruition. My awesome. Favorite is when my team brings me something that I didn't think of.
Yeah.
And that's when I get really, really excited.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Really love this.
This was fucking rad,
dude. If you ever want to come back, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
That'd be great. I'd love to even 6 months down the road, a year down the road, just see what happened in the last 6 months to a year, like at your business, like how everything's been going. And
I'd love that.
That'd be great.
This was fun rapping, dude.
Seriously. Well, let everyone know where they can find you.
Hey, we're wedefy.com online, and visit us there. We also have shop.wedefy because we do our own apparel. So check us out. Say hello. Follow. Stay rad.
Yeah. And also, all the links will be in the description below. But for all the YouTube viewers out there, we're about to do some sock shopping. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, thank you so much. Thank you, Nick. See you guys in the next one.
That was fun.
All right, so Nick and I are going to go sock shopping. And just to give you an idea of what we've got the essentials, which are our standard colors along the wall. We've got our limited collections. This is actually an artist that we just worked with called, his name is Nathan Walker. He's inspired by New York. I think he's from New York, but he does like basketball inspired art. And I think he lives in Austin now. We've got some of our more standard APTHCRY collections, like our flames. We've got Amber Vittoria, who does some really cool, very color. Oh, she's great. She's awesome.
What's my must-have that I walk out of here today? Right?
Must-have. Well, I know you like these, and these are coming out soon. By the time this episode comes out, they may be out, but we've got the brand new, the Lows.
So I have all of those in the full size.
Let's go. We're also probably by the time this episode comes out, hopefully we have mids coming in too. Ooh. So we'll have the crew length, the mid, and then the Lows. So hopefully for the summer we'll finally have some Lows in stock, which is great. But yeah, just grab whatever you want. We've got hats, we've got shirts. Sizing might be a little iffy on the shirts.
I think. Got those keychains?
Oh, you might.
APTHCRY keychains are absolutely amazing.
Let me check. I actually don't know if we do. We've got pins, we've got shoe horns. We've got orange carabiners, but that might be it actually. We do have orange. Oh, we've also got oh shoot, we might actually be almost out of these. We had license plate covers, but they might actually be gone. Yep.
Where's Amber?
Oh, Amber's right here. So these are all 4 of her colorways. And they're all mids too, which is really cool. So this is our first mid-length collection. She does, dude, her Web3 stuff, her art is just amazing.
She's great.
She really is. She's one of those people who are on sort of the forefront of the burgeoning technology, but also with art that's really great.
These would go good with my bacon.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I didn't even bring up the bacon, but I've been wearing the shit out of those.
The quality on those is really good, too.
It is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I had the OG GQMs, but,
same.
But I didn't get them.
Are you an Eagles fan by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have Kelly Green.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or we don't call it Kelly Green, but we call it Emerald green. Emerald crew.
I love that. Yeah, a master's green too.
Oh, true.
Did you, yeah.
I did. I'll be honest.
Some?
I watched a little bit for Bryson because I watch his YouTube channel.
He's a hell of a storyteller.
He really is. And his style is so interesting. As someone who doesn't know much about golf, listening to how he talks about and sort of the way he golfs seems like it's a pretty interesting style and a very calculated mathematical style that I wouldn't be able to handle.
No, I can't do that. Like, I think like that's like overthinking it.
Right.
For me.
Same. I just need to get the ball on the green. That's my main thing.
Well,
Just-
that's tough. That is tough. These are mids?
Yeah, those ones. Yes, those are mids. Yes, we've got gray mids. We're getting more in later, but right now we only have those ones. What else do we have? Yeah, we've got these. We've got those. I'm trying to think. We have Air Max. Do you have Air Max 95 neons by any chance?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got.
Yeah, where are those?
We got these socks. They match perfectly.
With the bubble?
With the bubble. Those ones have, those ones do have a bubble. We also have these based on our OG socks that are white with red, but they also have an air bubble on the bottom of the foot.
Oh.
And then we've got Air Max 90 ones, but they are not infrared. They're just a standard red. So it's inspired by the Air Max 90s, but it's a red and black.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Of course, man, definitely.
Let's see what we got over here in this
Yeah.
t-shirt.
Oh yeah, so we've got let's see. This is the one that I'm wearing, the J'adore one. This is Silver Balloon, which is the same style but in silver.
You know I'm talking that.
Let's go.
You know I'm talking that.
We've got
the classic ones, too.
yeah, grab one of those. We've got this is like a comic book style one. This is a oh yeah, that's a long sleeve. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, dog!
Let's go.
Go.
And then did you want any of the lows?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, pick out whichever colors you want and then
So, bacon.
okay, perfect. And you don't have to if you don't need any more, then you don't have to take any more. But if you're welcome to take as much as you want.
No. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the ones that I have.
Gotcha.
So, I would do. I mean, it's fucked up because I have all of these
Right.
in regular. I
Right.
don't have this color.
Really? Okay.
These were the ones you gave me before, which my sons have since acquired. So, I mean, I would take a set of these.
No problem. Can I go through them?
And then
There's
I
the
think
gray
I'm
one.
gonna do. Summer. These light,
Gotcha with the sand. No problem.
they're like skin tone. This is a lot.
Oh yeah. I'll grab you a
my
bag.
brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. Okay, so I still owe you this one and this one. But yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming through, man. I really
Yo,
appreciate it.
This was fun.
It's been a
man.
blast.
We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely.